Views expressed on this program do not necessarily represent those of Revive FM or its management.
Hello, good afternoon. You are locked into Revive FM 94.0 on the Power Hour with your host, myself, Louise Power. This show is about community matters, diversity and inclusion, a platform for women, leadership, entrepreneurship, and inspirational stories. And today on the show, I have Mr. Devin Harris. He is the international motivational keynote speaker and founding member of the Jamaican bobsled team. Welcome, 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 Devin.
It's great to be on the Power Hour with you. I'm feeling powerful.
You're feeling powerful. What I'm feeling powerful to have you here.
As Sanka Coffee said in the film Cool Runnings, I'm feeling very Olympic today. Yeah,
you're feeling very Olympic. and my son's favorite part, in fact, is half term, right? So all the children are off.
Right.
Actually waving at me, and his favorite part is Sanka, you're dead.
You're dead. Yeah, a lot of people like that line.
Oh, I'm honored. Honestly, I'm honored to have you here. I know that we've known each other for a few years now, and we've been in touch on and off.
Yeah. It's great to catch up. We missed each other in Jamaica a couple of years ago. So, finally caught you.
Whereabouts in the world are you today?
I'm in New York, man. I'm hanging out in just outside New York City.
I love New York. The last time I was there, I think I stayed on 42nd.
Oh, well, excuse me.
I love New York. So,
the heat of the action, in the middle of the action.
In the middle of the action, yeah. It's been a while. Like, I really would like to go back, but of course we're all in the middle of this and in the midst of this crazy time and pandemic and not really having much normality.
There's so much uncertainty going around, man, for all of us. I mean, I don't think that anybody can get through this unscathed, right? So we have to ride it out. We're just hear on the news a number of people who are being infected, and here, certainly in the US, we're kind of gearing up, I suppose, for the second wave, and I see that happening across Europe as well. And I know that people are supposedly COVID fatigued, but I kind of feel that, if we were to just make the sacrifice and, do what we're supposed to do, practice social distancing, wear a mask, etc., we'll be able to get a upper hand on this thing quicker. But if you do it half-heartedly, kind of like anything else in life, if you do it half-heartedly, you're going to get half-hearted results.
Oh, definitely. I think we all just need to chip in, pull together, and try and get through this storm as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And talking about storms, actually, it reminds me of Wednesday evening. I went to remind myself of my favorite movie, Cool Runnings. So me and my son watched it, and the whole story, obviously based off of yourself and your founding members, and how you guys left Jamaica and went to the 0.0 freezing temperatures of Canada, in Calgary, I think it was, to as part of the Olympics. So if you just introduce yourself to the listeners and just tell them, a little bit about yourself.
Well, look, my thing about winter is that, hey, when it gets cold, you dress warm, man. Just put on a jacket, put on 2 jackets if needs be. The challenge when you live in Jamaica, and certainly for me now, it's embarrassing, Louise, to tell you the truth. I go back home and I just sweat like a hog. It's embarrassing. And I say all the time, I prefer the cold over the heat because, when it's cold, you can dress warmly and feel comfortable. When it's hot, doesn't matter. But we, myself and 3 other crazy Jamaicans decided that we're going to try this winter sport called bobsledding, or bobsleigh, as the Brits would say. A sport we knew nothing about. I mean, I knew it was a winter sport. Yes, it was fast and dangerous. Yes. I beyond that, I could not have described a sled to you. And so we jumped on we jumped on a plane and headed up to Calgary back in October of 1987. So, by the way, the team was first selected in September 87 in Jamaica. And we went up to Calgary in October to get on the ice for the very first time. Now, a little bit of context here. The Olympics were going to be in February of 1988. And we were planning to compete in those Olympics, but yet we had never done the sport before. That's kind of how crazy this adventure was. A wild ride, pun intended. But yeah, we got started. It was a steep learning curve. We spent about 6 weeks in Calgary just figuring out how to get from the top of the track to the bottom and still be alive. And we somehow passed that test. So we...
I watched intently on Wednesday, and all the emotions came back. Everything to when you nearly called the sled Tallulah, to the point.
Yeah, that's Hollywood, though. Sorry.
That was Hollywood, yeah. Down to the point where, where you got this old sled, and you had, you literally the resilience that it took to go into that situation. Which one of them was based? Which character was based on yourself?
Well, the characters are really different from real life characters. There were 3 of us were army guys. Nobody with dreads, no rich boy, none of that stuff. But if I had to choose one, I'd say Yul Brynner, the bald-headed guy. Not because he was mean and intense. I'm intense, but when I compete. But he was a dreamer. He was the guy that wanted to go to Buckingham Palace to live, and that's how I see myself as well, as a dreamer.
Right. So you did. Was the chronology of the film similar to real life in the sense that somebody went and had met somebody that was involved in being in a bobsled team before, and then he took you guys there? He saw the talent within you. Was that similar?
No, that's another example of Hollywood magic. And let me put this in perspective, right? So in 1988, the Summer and the Winter Olympics were in the same year. And now, according to the movie, the guys on the team, they were trying out for the Summer Olympic Games, failed to make the Summer Olympic team, and hence decided to try bobsledding. Well, in 88, the Summer Olympics the Winter Olympics happened before the Summer Olympics. So there's no way you could have tried out, quote unquote, for the Summer Olympic team, not make it, and then say you're going to go to the Winter Olympics. But Hollywood did such an amazing job in selling that story. It's many, many years later, I'm thinking about the film. I'm like, but that doesn't make sense, So, no, 2 Americans who lived in Jamaica, George Fitch and William Maloney, they came up with the idea to start a team because, according to them, they were in a local bar, drinking, hanging out with, Mr. J. Ray and his nephew.
Oh, yeah. I know it was a Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. Probably it was a Friday night, and maybe they had a couple of red stripes as well. I don't know. And they began discussing this popular belief that Jamaican women and athletes were the best in the world, and there was no way for them to test the former without getting in trouble with their wives. So they decided to put the latter to the test. And then they saw the pushcart derby, essentially bobsledding without the ice. 2 crazy guys going down the side of a mountain in a cart. Discovered that a big part of a bobsled race is a start. You need sprinters. We have lots of them. But the guys on the summer team didn't want to do it. And so they came to the army looking for athletes. And, the British audience definitely would know John Barnes. Yes. John Barnes' dad was Colonel Ken Barnes. And he was a guy in charge of sports at the time in the Jamaica Defense Force. And he loved the idea. Yes. And so here it is.
I never knew that.
Yeah, most people don't know that. And to be honest, without Colonel Barnes, there probably wouldn't have been a Jamaica bobsled team, because you would have, like I said, the guys on the summer team didn't want to do it, and they came to the Army, and the Colonel was like, I remember going to him, and he goes, I think it's a wonderful idea. If I was 20 years younger, I'd have tried it myself. So,
and was, so I guess I'm asking a few questions in terms of, now, was the going to Canada Calvary at that time, the resilience it took, the short amount of time you had for preparation, getting the sled, being enrolled, what was the response like from the neighboring teams and countries? Because of course Jamaica had not competed in a sport like that before.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, because when we first went to Canada in October, the only Olympic team that was in Canada at the time were the Canadians, because that was their home track, and they get to have as much ice time as they want on it.
Right.
And I guess I don't know if grudgingly, they kindly allowed us on, because there's just, in their mind, I'm thinking, there's just no way these guys can beat us anyway. They're still trying to figure out where the top of the track is. And then we went to Europe, and when we went to Europe, to Austria, we didn't see any of the guys initially, didn't see any other guys who were going to be in the Olympics. They're athletes there from the major nations, but they were more the B teams. We saw the British team. They rolled up one day. This big British army bobsleigh truck, and all these black guys rolled up going, where's the Jamaican posse? And we're like, oh my God, we thought we were the only black guys in bobsledding, and then they turn up. I'm like, oh my God, all right, fine.
The British were there too.
Yeah. But, so we eventually got to the Olympics and started to see other people there. And I know in the movie it suggested that there was a lot of tension between us and them. That's not true. And look, first of all, athletes generally don't treat each other that way. That's been my experience. Yes. And perhaps more importantly, this is the Olympic Games, man, the most important race in 4 years. People don't have time to be wasting energy hating on another team. You're trying to win the medal, because it's not coming back in for another 4 years.
Did you go back again after?
Yeah, man. I competed in 3 Olympics. So 88, and on that, in 88, I was the pusher. I was the number 2 guy on that 4-man sled that crashed, and then I became a driver. So I drove the 2-man sled in 92, La Plania, the Albertville Olympics, and then in 98 in Nagano, Japan as well.
It is just incredible. I'd like to know and take you back a little bit to when you grew up in Jamaica. Did you ever foresee that, the place where you came from, that you would be, was your dreams that big at the time? Tell us where you came from in Jamaica.
I grew up in the Olympic Gardens, and that's where we grow all of our Olympians. I'm joking.
Oh, right. In Jamaica, Olympic Gardens, yeah?
Yeah, I actually did grow up in a place called Olympic Gardens. I'm not the only one, though. Shelley and Fraser is from Shelley and Fraser Price.
Love Shelley.
Pocket Rocket is from Olympic Gardens. Mike McCallum is from Olympic Gardens. I don't know the history of it. I'm not sure how it got its name, but Arthur Wint. So track athletic aficionados or fans will know the name Arthur Wint, Herb McKinley, George Roden. There are roads or streets in Olympic Gardens named after these guys. So there's some kind of connection there. But Olympic Gardens is a really tough neighborhood. I don't know if you guys have these adverts in the UK, advertising Jamaica, and they go, come to Jamaica and feel all right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, they weren't talking about my neighborhood. They weren't talking about Olympic Gardens at all. Nobody feels all right in Olympic Gardens. It's rough, it's impoverished, it's violent. But I did have dreams, though, man. So the overarching dream for me was to become an army officer. And I did that. I am Sandhurst trained. So my first time outside of Jamaica was to the UK when in 1985. Trained at the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, graduated, went back to Jamaica. And after that, after getting commissioned, I'm thinking to myself one day, I'm walking onto the officers' mess, I'm 21 years old, and I'm like, I'm having this really intense conversation with myself. So what's your plan? What's your plan? What are you going to do with the rest of your life now that you have achieved this thing? I'm like, oh yeah, the Olympics. Because I did have a dream of competing in the Olympics, and how that came about. I'm 15 years old, 1979, the year before the Moscow Olympics. ABC Wide World of Sports, an American broadcasting corporation, actually. They had a series called Road to Moscow. And in it, they highlighted athletes from all across the world, different disciplines. And what was interesting about it, you think of Olympic athletes as these superhuman beings. And what I saw in their stories was the fact that they were very average, ordinary people.
Yeah.
But you know what? They had extraordinary dreams and equally extraordinary desire to go achieve those dreams. I'm like, well, maybe if I could dream that big too, I could become an Olympian. And so I started dreaming and thinking that maybe I could go compete in the 1984 Olympic Games, against my idol at the time, Lord Sebastian Coe. I was a middle distance runner. See, everybody in Jamaica is a sprinter, really fast. I wasn't one of them. So I had to win something, and I discovered 800 and 1500 meters. So that didn't happen, didn't even come close to competing in Los Angeles. So here I am 4 years later, thinking maybe I could qualify for Seoul. And these two American guys came up with the idea to start a bobsled team. One thing led to another. I go running a cross-country race. The challenges, when I got back to Jamaica, not many people knew I was an athlete, and I certainly wasn't the picture of an athlete. I was limping around the barracks because when I was in England, I went down to Netheravon and I jumped from a plane and broke my ankle on my second jump.
You jumped from a plane?
Yeah, 2,500 feet in the air. Yeah. I parachuted.
Oh my God.
I parachuted. Didn't have to do it, but begged, and they allowed me to go do it. Broke my ankle. So I was just kind of recovering from that and started training, hoping to qualify for Seoul, go run a cross-country race. And they're like, oh my God, he's fit. So my colonel, not Colonel Barnes, but my immediate commanding officer told me to go to the team trials, and I went.
The rest was history.
Yeah, because, I honestly don't think he expected me to make it. It's just a philosophy in the Army that says officers must always participate. He had a bunch of enlisted soldiers going, and so he thought he'd send his young, fit officer
to go. You was the one. It was always meant to be. You see, it was destiny.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not the kind of guy to just go and go. Yeah, well, then I went. I had to figure out a way to make the team, and so here I am. Here
you are. Oh, I am just loving this interview so much. We are going to go into a very short commercial break, for just about a minute long, and then we'll be right back. So you can relax, maybe grab some water.
Not enough time to take a nap, huh? Darn
Not enough time to take a nap. We've got to finish listening to all of this gorgeous content you're giving us about your life and really, really soaking it in. So once again, thank you for being with us. Please do not touch that dial. You're locked into Revive FM 94.0 on the Power Hour. My guest is Mr. Devin Harris, and we will be right back.
Businesses. Time is running out. From the 1st of January next year, if you do business with Europe, you're going to have to follow new rules. So there are definite actions we all need to take now. More to do, I know, but it's work that won't be wasted. It needs doing no matter what. And we haven't got long. Less than 3 months and counting. Check what your business needs to do now at gov.uk/transition. Check, change, go.
Amigos, the signature name when it comes to burgers and shakes. Our succulent burgers are prepared in front of you while you wait. Whether you go for our 6-ounce Mexican or our 10-ounce Texan, or you decide to go for our messy fries or our buffalo wings, one thing you're guaranteed is quality. Dine in with your friends and family at 400 Cranbrook Road, Gants Hill, or order in on Uber Eats, Just Eat or Deliveroo. Amigos. Hats off to great burgers.
Hi, I'm Ian from the Windrush Help Team. If you came to the UK before the end of 1988 and are struggling to prove your legal status, I could help. You may also be entitled to compensation. I'm here to answer your questions and talk you through our application process. Anything you tell us will be treated sensitively and won't be passed on to immigration enforcement. Visit gov.uk/Windrush Help Team.
The Windrush Help Team, here to support you and your family.
Just the flu, people say every year. But in an average year, the flu kills 11,000 people and hospitalises tens of thousands more. There's no just about it. Flu is a virus that can cause serious complications. That's why we offer you the flu vaccine free. It's your very best protection. Ask your pharmacist or GP if you're eligible for the free flu vaccine. NHS. To protect against flu, help us help you.
Revive FM
94.0 on the radio,
on your mobile,
and online.
Hello, welcome back. You are locked into Revive FM 94.0 on the Power Hour with your host today, myself, Miss Louise Power. This show is about community matters, diversity and inclusion, a platform for women, leadership, entrepreneurship and inspirational stories. And on today's show, I have Mr. Devin Harris. He is an international motivational keynote speaker and the founding member of the Jamaican bobsled team. Welcome back.
Hey, I stayed. I'm still here.
I'm glad you didn't go too far.
Well, you gave me strict orders.
Strict instructions. So before the break, he was telling us your backstory about how you left Jamaica and inducted yourself into the army, and then you went on and you have joined the Olympics, and and you've done so much renowned things. And you're from a place called Olympic Gardens, ironically. So in a way, although you said that it was the thing to do in terms of the process when you're in the army to send, your fittest soldiers to go and try out for the Olympics. To me, there's something about destiny there. There's something about it being meant to be for you as well.
Yeah, you could look at it that way. Absolutely. I just think, I'm going to put on my motivational keynote speaker hat here for a minute. But
I'm coming there actually next.
Yeah, but Louise, I just think that when people might say you're lucky, and some people say luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And so I think back on my background, growing up from a really rough neighborhood and being 19 years old and being the only only person, young teenager, my age in school. I'm the only one. I'm in sixth form. And I remember coming home. I would come home late at nights because the neighborhood was rough. And so I used school as a haven. I was in school all the time.
Can I just ask?
Yeah.
You was the only one in your neighborhood in school.
At my age, at 19.
At your age. I just want the listeners to get a sense of why that would be. If you could just give them a sense of that period of time. And, for those of us that don't, for those people, not us, I'm a Jamaican myself, those people that may not really be connected with Jamaica, because I'd really like them to get a sense of what that was like, because it was a serious time. And, for you to live out of that situation is incredible. Yeah. So if you can just give them a sense of what that was like.
Sure. So, we have a very similar educational system to the UK. You start high school at 12 going on 13, which is first form, we call it, or seventh grade. I'm assuming that you have the same thing. And then, so everybody go up to when they're 17 in fifth form or 11th grade, and you do your O levels, and then you go off into the job world, or then you can, hang out for 2 more years and do your A levels. So, if you, whether in high school or what we call a secondary school, most kids, they end up at 11th grade. And then they're just, trying to find a job here and there, doing odds and ends or not working. And so at 19 in my neighborhood, the expectation is that you'll be working by then, and I'm coming home from school at night, my little, khaki pants and white shirt and tie and book bag across my back and being teased. But I had a goal, which was to join the army. And so I stayed the course, man. Now, had I not, taken care of business, as I say, in school, and it's not like I was a Rhodes Scholar or anything. I just, I got a couple of O levels, I got enough. But I did what I needed to do because I was always focused on getting into the army. And so that was one of the things I needed to do. Although I did have this dream of competing in the Olympics, which, as you can see, is perhaps even more far-fetched. But that's okay. Dreams are supposed to be far-fetched. And so I paved the way. I created that path to get in the army. And because I was there, when this opportunity came up, I was able to take advantage of it.
Yeah. The two things met.
Yeah, they absolutely met. I mean,
an opportunity.
Is it possible that I could have made the team if I wasn't in the army? Entirely possible, but destiny. It was easier. They came to the army. There were civilians who came to the bobsled team trials, but I don't know how widespread the news of the bobsled team trials was across Jamaica. But I was in an environment that allowed me to hear it and then was actually sent to it. It's not like I go, hey, I'm going to go. But I was able to be, central to the events. And so here we are.
And you then went on and you've become a global speaker, motivational speaker going all around the world. Tell us what the transition between leaving the bobsled team and the Olympics and athletics, and then how you got into becoming a world-renowned motivational speaker going all around the world.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. They say some people come in your life for a reason and some come for a season. Well, after my second Olympics in Albertville, I resigned from the Jamaica Defense Force, left as a captain, and moved to the US. So, and my goal was to study hospitality management. I like traveling. I like meeting people. It just seemed cool. But I couldn't shake the bobsled bug. I just couldn't shake it. And so I started working and plotting my way to get back to the Olympics, doing a bunch of different things. And then I met this guy who was an agent for some reggae singers. And reggae lovers will know Garnet Silk and Tony Rebel. He's your cousin. And he wanted to be my agent. And I'd never had an agent before, so it sounded cool, first of all, right? And then two, he's saying, hey, if I were your agent and I'm interested, I would have you be a motivational speaker. That sounded cool. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. But I was actually on another show earlier this week, and I mentioned that one of the things I learned at Sandhurst is what they call the principles of war. And the first principle of war is the selection and maintenance of the aim. And what was the aim at the time? To go to the Olympic Games in Nagano. So I'm like, I will do that, but after the Olympic Games. Well, guess what? His role in my life was to tell me about motivational speaking, because it did absolutely nothing. I mean, nothing to get me, to help me to get to the Olympics. But he had planted the seed. And so I'm in Park City, Utah, 1997. I'm training to qualify for Nagano, and the guy who eventually became my agent afterwards, he comes to my room with a VHS tape, sticks us into the VCR, and he goes, "Can you do this?" And it's a guy called Vince Pacenti. He was a Canadian speed skier, competed in Albertville, and he was a motivational speaker. And I looked at the tape. I'm like, yeah, I could do that. And so I go off to the Olympics, and I came back and started speaking for free at Rotary clubs and schools and whoever would listen, you know. And fortunately, nobody booed. and,
Well, I've heard you, and I was stuck to my seat, and I'm just like,
you know, it's an accent, Louise. You know it. Come on, admit it. Admit it.
I'll admit, okay, it's a Jamaican accent first, but behind the Jamaican accent, it is definitely the realness.
Yeah.
Because I think, and I always say it, we can, especially like when I'm in board meetings or I'm doing something professionally or corporately, and I say there's nothing more impacting than a real story.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing more impacting than a message with substance.
I agree. You know, the word you use, realness, is the one I use is authenticity. That, you know, it's so important to be authentic. I think it's the most powerful way any of us can show up in the world, by being ourselves. Because if you can think about all the times you met someone and, you know, you say to yourself, I don't know what it is about him or her, but I can't put my finger on it, but there's something off. And it's because that person was putting on an act, right? And they weren't being truly authentic. And I'm fortunate to have a story that transcends barriers. And as you say, you know, I get to speak around the world a little bit, been to London a few times to speak. Hey, London, invite me back, man. It's been a while. I miss you.
You need Devin Harris and his backup singer, Louise Power, on the bill.
There you go. Well, singer, I don't know about that part. I know you just like spoil the entire thing. You know, I'll be one of, I was about to say I'll be one of those people on American Idol. No, I would not be, because I actually know my limitations when it comes on to singing.
You're opening up. You could be my mentor.
You can warm the crowd up, and then I could come.
I'll warm up the crowd, and then you come out afterwards.
Absolutely.
And you've got like some keynotes, like 5 of them that you do, but one of them is called Persistence in the Face of Adversity, and that really stood out to me because I think in this climate we are at a time where we have to be resilient, we have to be self-motivated, keeping a positive mindset, looking after self-care, unity, and there's it's uncertainty with jobs, there's uncertainty with the climate of the pandemic, and then we've had Black Lives Matter. A lot has happened this year, and I think could we do maybe a speed dating version of just a few minutes? And get some of your golden nuggets to the people about persistence in the face of adversity.
Well, look, you know, it's perhaps one of the favorite things I talk about, persistence, because I think all of us start out, or many of us start out with these amazing goals and ideas that we want to go accomplish, and then, and you know, the way I describe it is that we start out and we're enthusiastic, man. We're heading down the road, full of energy and hope, and then we hit a little bump, and we go, oh, it's just a little bump, that's fine. And then you hit another bump, and after a while, the bump starts to become more and more frequent, and then the bumps kind of turn into a hill, and you climb hill after hill, and then you get, as you Brits would say, knackered,
tired.
You know, you get exhausted. And then you quit. And guess what? Your goal, the vision that was right behind the next hill, man. And so, you know, I've kind of learned not to give up. And, you know, I talk about persistence, that the fact that you have to, my term, keep on pushing. You have to find a way. And I think definitely today, with the global pandemic brought on by COVID-19, has left so many of us off balance. You know, it is highly disruptive, and that's perhaps an understatement of the century. And it has created a sea of uncertainty. And so the question is, this is a huge obstacle with so much uncertainty. How do you persist? How do you, as I like to say, keep on pushing when, there's no end in sight, really, because we're not sure when it's going to end. And I know that I think back to my bobsledding days, and when I'm driving a bobsled, there are times when I get on a corner and I didn't hit it quite right, and the sled is doing all kinds of crazy things, and the natural thing to want to do is to hold on to the sled and kind of manhandle it to get it to do what you want it to do. And it's the absolute wrong thing. And so when we find ourselves in this sea of uncertainty as well, a lot of us are still trying to hold on to maintain control. And I want to kind of encourage people to just breathe. And I'm not saying sit back and throw your hands in the air and accept mediocrity or whatever will be. No, I'm just saying stop fighting so much, because when you put all of your energies into fighting and trying to control every little thing, you miss out. First of all, you're misusing your energy, and then you're just kind of missing out on your ability to be creative, to kind of think about what you need to do next. So again, when I'm in the sled and it's going crazy, yes, I get really focused. My eyes get huge, and I'm just thinking about, okay, wait your turn until, I know you can't even imagine a bobsledder doing that when you see the sled go swoosh, but that's what we do, right? So it's about learning to take control of your emotions. And if you watch any athlete in any sport at any critical point of a game, what are they doing? They're breathing. They're giving themselves energy. They're allowing themselves an opportunity to think, to work through the challenge.
Yeah,
right?
I think that when you said breathe, it took me back to an interview that I had some weeks back where we discussed actually the lockdown gave us no option but to.
Yeah.
And in that moment and in those breaths, I think a lot of people around the world were able to think about, where am I? Is this where I want to be in life? Life-changing decisions were made, careers were changed, businesses were born, things evolved because the world had no choice but to be still.
Yeah. And the people who are struggling are the ones they're breathing, but they're hyperventilating, because they're trying to keep things the way they were. And we have to recognize that, hey, maybe one of the only constant in life is change, if not the only constant. Things are always going to change. I was speaking to a guy yesterday. I was interviewing him for my podcast, and he calls himself a progress agent. He says, all change is not progress. All progress is change. And so the idea is that when you are in a situation as we are in now, where change is forced upon us, how do you transform that change into progress, making sure that, you're going to change. It doesn't, whether you like it or not, the world has changed. How do you progress out of that? And it is that is you taking those breaths and then figuring out, so you're changing your perception now, right? You're changing your perspective on the impact that this is going to have on you. Because no matter what happens in your life, in the end, you still have the ability to choose how you respond. That's the thing we have to remember. You have that ability to choose how you respond. How you choose to respond is going to create a certain result. So you have to kind of picture the result you want in your mind, right? So although, and I know it kind of sounds counterintuitive, although there's no end in sight, you have to imagine an end. The one that you want for yourself.
Hold that thought. We're going to go into commercial break. So we're not going into an end. We're just imagining the end. And when we get back, we're going to speak about that end, but not the real end.
Cool.
So please do not touch that dial. We're going into commercial break. You've been locked into Revive FM 94.0. We'll be right back.
As winter approaches, here's a critical reminder of coronavirus symptoms from Dr. Gupta.
The main symptoms of coronavirus are a high temperature or a new continuous cough or a sudden loss or change in your sense of smell or taste. If you have any of these, to protect yourself and others, it is critical you isolate at home, even if you don't feel too bad. And you must book a test immediately. Use the NHS COVID-19 app or go to gov.uk/coronavirus.
Stay alert. Control the virus. Save lives.
The local COVID alert level across London is now high. To help stop the spread of coronavirus, do not meet people socially anywhere indoors. Only meet people outdoors in groups of up to 6. You must work from home if possible, and reduce the number of journeys you make. Find all the local restrictions and laws at gov.uk/coronavirus. Stay alert. Control the virus. Save lives.
Hi, I'm Ian from the Windrush Help Team. If you came to the UK before the end of 1988 and are struggling to prove your legal status, I could help. You may also be entitled to compensation. I'm here to answer your questions and talk you through our application process. Anything you tell us will be treated sensitively and won't be passed on to immigration enforcement. Visit gov.uk/Windrush Help Team.
The Windrush Help Team, here to support you and your family.
Businesses who deal with Europe, listen up. Time is running out. You've got new rules coming in on the 1st of January 2021. That's just round the corner. And getting ready can take longer than you think. These things always do. I know it's been a tough old year, but the countdown to the 1st of January has started. Don't get left behind. Start now at gov.uk/transition. Check, change, go.
Rosia Plumbing, the boiler specialists. We do new boiler installations, full house central heating systems, underfloor heating, boiler repairs, boiler servicing, and gas safety certification for landlords. With some of the best prices in town, there's no job too big or too small for our qualified engineers. For a free, no obligation quote, contact us now on 07956 282 948. Rosia Plumbing, the boiler specialists.
Revive FM
94.0. On the radio.
On your mobile.
And online.
Hello and welcome back. You are locked into Revive FM 94.0 on the Power Hour with myself, Louise Power, and my guest, Mr. Devin Harris. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
And we was talking about an end, but we wasn't talking about an end to the show. What was the end?
I'm confused now because I thought I could have sworn we said we were ending. No, that's how we started with the end in mind. And we know the end is near.
Talking about seeing the end. We're talking about the vision. The vision.
That's right. Thank you for that.
That pot of gold, that nugget. Those awesome nuggets that you was giving us.
Gotcha. Well, Stephen Covey, he wrote about that in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, beginning with the end in mind. And so in this crazy time, although I think correctly noted at the beginning that, there's no end in sight. Nobody knows when this is going to end. You still have to approach this by thinking about the end. What you'd like the end of this to be like, look like for you, right? So when we all get through this, and we will at some stage, what would you like your life to be like? So if you can begin to imagine what you'll be doing, that's the place to start. So as you rightly said earlier, Louise, the smarter ones among us are spending time now evaluating their lives. That this thing that I've been doing for the last 10, 15, 20 years, is that what I really want to continue to do for the next 5, 10 years? This thing that I've always wanted to put in place, but I was too busy running around doing everything else. Now that the world has slowed down and I've done hyperventilating, and I'm kind of taking some deep breaths and thinking maybe now is a time to put those plans in place. It's the choices, as I said earlier, the decisions that you make now that are going to determine the actions, the tiny actions that you take consistently, that will determine what the end will look like for you at the end of this.
And I think there's something, isn't there, about the fact that you don't have to be an athlete to have an athletic mindset. That's kind of just come to me through our conversation, that the athletic mindset about winning the race isn't just about the running or the bobsled or the swimming in the physical sense, is it? It's about winning the race in our mindset.
No, I agree. I agree with you. It looks like you're trying to take my job, Louise. What's going on here?
Well, I'm also, doing a little bit of motivational speaking. And
that's what it is. Oh, trying to compete now. Is that what's going on? All right, let's bring it on then.
Let's get in the ring.
Let's have our own Olympics. No, but you're right. If you look across the spectrum of human endeavors, the people who have succeeded, whether it's in sports or in arts or in business, craft. Look, success principles are timeless, really, and it applies to everything that we want to do, right? And it really does. It starts out with that dream, that vision, and then being willing to put the work in and to believe in yourself. I think, I've found that to be true, when I was in Calgary bobsledding, but it was equally true when I was at Sandhurst, walking all over the South Downs or, Nether Havens or Brecon Beacon or wherever we went and exercised.
And wouldn't you say this as well, that to go with that, there's something about sacrifice? We all have to kind of, in a way, put aside something, whether it be the fact that you had to leave your home country and your family and your friends and the life that we all have to sacrifice something. I know building my business and the businesses that I've built and the time it's taken and the input and everything else, there's always been some sacrifice. And I think that that's something that people need to think about when they are wanting to go for their dreams and they're aspiring, that there's something about saying, I know that I have to give up some of the things that I like, right? For me, it was a salary. It's a massive, because as being self-employed, we don't always know sometimes what we're getting every month.
Yeah, exactly. This is true. There's I think the word sacrifice scares people.
Right.
Or maybe the idea of sacrificing scares people. But look, folks, there's a price that you have to pay for every single thing in life, right? You can't walk into the store with that and walk out with that nice dress or new shirt without handing over something, right? There's a price that you pay for that, and there's a price that you have to pay for the achievements in your life as well. The thing is that when people think of sacrifice, and in a sense, you're giving up something.
Yes.
But, I prefer to see it as, hey, you know what? I am gaining this thing. I'm gaining this skill. I'm gaining this knowledge. I'm gaining this experience that is going to propel me forward. It's allowing me to keep on pushing. So I kind of had to give up some of my getaways in order to be an army officer, right? I had to, when I came to England, it was my first time, or to Jamaica when I went to Sandhurst. I was homesick. One of the worst experiences I had when I was at Sandhurst, I would be on the coach heading into London, and there was a sign that said Kingston 10 miles. I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not Kingston as we know it.
I was Kingston upon Tyne, man. I'm like, no, it's like that was awful, man. But yeah, I was as homesick as ever. But that's what I needed to do in order to achieve this thing, right? I absolutely enjoy bobsledding. I love being out in the cold doing it. But I had to, give up the warmth of Jamaica to be able to do that.
Listen, giving up the warmth of Jamaica to me is a sacrifice. Because
after spending, sorry, no disrespect, all my English friends, but hey, after spending, I remember coming to England and before I came to England, like my very final exercise in basic training in the army, Louise, it rained nonstop for a week. And I was loving it. I'm like, great training for when I go to England. And I go to England and it's drizzling and I'm miserable. I'm like, I was confused. I'm like, what was going on? And then for our final exercise, we went to Cyprus. And that first afternoon, we went out in the field, a thunderstorm. And it was wonderful. I was loving it. I'm like, oh, it's the English weather. So, look.
Honestly,
that was good training for bobsledding, I have to say. It was.
I absolutely, like, my grandparents are Jamaican. I normally, because it's COVID, but normally I go to Jamaica every year. I love Jamaica so much. When I touch down, I'm home.
Yeah.
When you went to Calvary, was that the first time that you saw snow?
No, most people think that. Actually, I saw snow in England in December of '85.
Okay.
I don't remember where I was coming from. I wasn't at the academy. I was in a Land Rover driving back to the academy, and I saw this white stuff just flying across a windscreen. And it's really weird. My fingers and less so my toes, when it gets cold, they just get red and they burn. And they were burning, and I ran inside the building and held on to one of the radiators, which was the worst thing to do. So, I learned my lesson. So that was the first time I saw snow. And then I came to the US in 1986, and saw even more snow that December. And then, of course, never looked back from then.
You never looked back. And then that was it. You loved it so much you moved to.
Listen, I love. So there's one piece of film footage I would love to get, and it's when we were at the Olympics in Nagano before the opening ceremony. So all the teams, all the nations are kind of outside the stadium waiting to march in the stadium, and the Kiwis and the Dutch team started, this thing, and then next thing you know, there was a snowball fight that broke out among the athletes. And somebody back in the US told me that they saw me on TV with the biggest grin on my face with a snowball in my hand. And I know I gave a good shot. Prince Albert got one from me. I'm like, Albert, pow, So I'd give anything to see that footage, man, of me throwing a snowball in Japan.
Someone needs to give him, Devin, the footage of when you threw the snowball in Japan. And was it
1998, man? And, yeah.
Someone has. I'm getting waved at from the studio management, because I know that our show is coming to an end.
Yeah.
Shortly. So if you can just spend a minute just telling me about what the future holds. I know that you work with some really exemplary corporates, and if you just tell us where we can contact you and what the future holds, and the kinds of work that you're going to be doing going forward, 2020, 2021.
Yeah, sure. So I was about to say more of what I'm doing. It's, the COVID has definitely caused me, like everybody else, to kind of rethink and pivot. And so now I'm doing, more virtual keynotes. I have a couple coming up, but I'm actually getting calls and bookings now for in-person events. already next year. So I'm not adverse to that. If you feel like, it could be a good fit for your team, your company, I'd be happy to have that conversation and come in. One of the things we didn't talk about is my charity, my foundation back home, Keep On Pushing Foundation. We do a breakfast program and a school supplies program at my old primary school back in Olympic Gardens there. And we just finished building, I'm proud of it, a tiny little sick bay. But there's more, we have, more work to do on that.
If people want to donate to that, how can they donate to?
Yeah, and PayPal /keeponpushing.org is what it is. Or if you go to my website, devonharris.com, you can click right on the foundation from there. So I'm at devonharris.com on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is at keeponpushing88, at keeponpushing88, and Facebook, I'm there. And if you look for Devon Harris, I'm the guy in the Jamaica bobsled uniform. And my Facebook page is. Pardon me?
You're on LinkedIn as well, aren't you?
I'm on LinkedIn. Yep, absolutely. Devon Harris, a keynote speaker. I'm on Facebook, a group, Keep On Pushing with Devon Harris. So yeah, I'm easy to find. If you really want to find me, you can.
We can find you, definitely.
Yeah.
It's been so good today. Honestly, I just wish we had more time. And
I think we spent too much time speaking about the end, and now it's here.
I know. Would you be able to? It's not going to end because our it's just started. Yeah. This is the sequel, right?
It's the end of the beginning.
This is right. So, would you promise to come back again?
I'd be happy to. Just say the word. Call my name.
I love it. Thank you, Devin, so much for coming today. I know it's like the speed dating version of your backstory and everything, but I'll definitely love to invite you back again so that we can speak further and find out what you've been doing in between the interim of now and 2021. And if you would like to contact Devin, please get in touch with him on those handles. He's a fantastic, awesome, motivational speaker. And from real life experience, obviously renowned Olympic a sportsman from Jamaica. So please do get in touch with him. You have been locked into the Power Hour on Revive FM. We'll be back again next week. Thank you ever so much, Devin.
Thank you. I'll see you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. You too. Thank you.
You're in New York, aren't you?
Yeah.
Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.
All the best.
Nitro Treats, the dessert lab where your